Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your girl Lauren Sizzle, and you are now tuned in to one of the hottest talk shows in the nation. We Talk Weekly's After the Talk.
I'm Classy Lady Sparkle. You want to binge listen to our shows? Follow the We Talk Weekly's podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Spreaker.
What up, folks? It's your boy Charles Gregory. Make sure to follow us on all our socials at We Talk Weekly.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Lily. So make sure you keep it locked to We Talk Weekly on 106.5 FM.
I sure will. See, today we have Debra Barnes Hamilton. She is CEO and founder of Nurture Your Love. She is an international speaker and author. Debra has created a married women's forum on Wednesdays to help women find themselves and enhance their marriage. As a relationship and intimacy coach, Debra is helping couples find that spark that they had when they first were married. Let's give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Debra Barnes Hamilton.
Yes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. We're super excited to have you. One of the things that we try to do on the show is, before we jump into all of the good questioning, we want to know, how are you doing? The way that the space is these days, we just want to check in and see, how are you doing? How are you feeling mentally, physically, all that good old stuff,
I'm good. I can't complain. I focus on my spirituality and, I'm all about helping people. So I'm real good. I'm in a really good place right now.
Fantastic. So let's start from, you talking a little bit about, some of the things that you're in, and then we're gonna walk through, how did you actually get there, and what are the movements that you are planning on doing later, that good old stuff. So let's start from, first and foremost, the things that you're doing. What empowers you and encourages you to do what you do?
What encourages me is seeing the transformations that take place when I'm helping women as well as couples. So it just makes me feel really good to see the transformations, especially you guys mentioned the Married Women's Forum that I do. I love that forum. I've been doing it for the past 2 years since the pandemic. Actually, it'll be 3 years in May, actually. And that form right there is amazing because women have come in and actually transformed their lives. I had one person who came in and was actually ready to leave her husband, and decided after she had been with me for a couple of months that she had to reevaluate. So it's just these types of things just really empower me, make me feel really good that I'm helping the community, that I'm helping women see how they can make the change in themselves first. I always believe you got to change yourself first before you can help anybody else. So seeing that change and that dynamic that takes place when I work with women and couples, that's what just thrives. I just thrive in that environment because I'm so glad that I'm able to help people.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So the name Nurture Your Love, right? What made you, or how did that come about? Was it something you were sleeping, you just had, that's it. What spurred that name? And I mean, because once you say Nurture Your Love, that's so layered, right? And it has so many meanings that I love, right? But, where did that name come from?
I was just trying to come up with a name that encompasses what I wanted to do. So I kept just thinking about different names that I wanted my company to be. And it just came up with Nurture Your Love because that's what it's all about. It's about nurturing not only yourself, but your relationship, right? And you're right, it's so many layers to nurturing your love.
Right.
But my whole main focus was helping couples and married women to see the need that they needed to nurture themselves first, and then how they can help themselves by nurturing their marriage. So that's how I came up with that name because it's all about nurturing and understanding the need that you have something that's supposed to be special to you. So why not nurture it?
Mhm.
Absolutely. So the pandemic became like this make or break point
within like so many different relationships, marriages. I've seen people that have been married for literally like 30 or 40 years break up, and like, did the pandemic make your job easier or harder, and why?
Well, when I decided to create the excuse me, you guys, I have sinus problems, so bear with me. Um, but when I decided to do the Married Women's Forum, I decided to do it because we were all stuck in the house, and I realized that it was affecting people's marriages. No one was used to being with your spouse or your significant other 24/7, right? So you have the conversations with people and you find out, man, I need help because this person that I'm in this house with is not the person I thought they were, because I get to leave and I get to go to work and I get to just hang out in the street if I want to, whatever. But when you stuck in the house and you with that person 24/7, that's a whole new dynamic. So that was one of those things that sprung the Married Women's Forum, because I'm like, okay, I got to help these women. I got to
Mm-hmm.
help them figure out what to do with being in the house 24/7 with their spouse or their significant other, right? So that's where that came from. And it's been more difficult since the pandemic. The pandemic just really caused all the issues that we were trying to get away from, not
Mm-hmm.
actually focus on and deal with. So it caused a lot of relationships to really struggle during that time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people are still struggling today, but they can go out of the house now.
Right,
But
right. So
yeah.
you
So
didn't have any women that were like, "Oh, I'm the woman that I don't have any problems in my marriage and things have gotten better," and you mainly had the ones that had the marital issues.
let me put it to you this way. There are several women that didn't even know that they had issues, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is status quo.
Mhm.
This is how we live our lives 9 times out of 10. We deal with status quo. We deal with, yeah, this is what's happening, but it's okay. It's good. I'm gonna work with it. But then when you actually get with a group of women and you talk about different topics, because I have a different topic every session that I have, when you talk about the different topics and you hear, you have to actually look at yourself, because that's what I'm all about. You have to look at yourself. And when you actually look at yourself and
Mm-hmm.
look at the role you play in your relationship, it makes a difference. You wind up going, oh, wait, hold up. Yeah, I
Right.
do have issues. Let me check myself, right?
Right, right.
So women do come in feeling like, oh, I'm good. Let me just see what this is about. And then they be like, oh, wow. Okay, I need to
Mm-hmm.
be here. So yeah.
Wow.
I agree. And you had said something about, status quo. I think a lot of stuff we're a lot of women are delusional. And when you just spoke about just to women, do you talk about the fatherless ones, the ones who grew up with daddy issues, and a lot of it starts from your childhood. So you have to dig deep, take those layers off, and they have to become vulnerable. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
then they
definitely.
things that they didn't even know were exposed. Do you have those type of conversations in the women's group?
I do. Actually, we just got finished doing how childhood trauma affects your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
we spent 2 weeks on that because that's a really deep topic. And I bring it up all the time because a lot of us might not feel like we have trauma, but the majority of us have trauma. And especially since COVID, we really have trauma, right?
Mm.
And I also am very clear that trauma does not have to come from your childhood or in your household. It could be the fact that you were bullied in school, right? And you know
Mm-hmm.
that that's really prevalent nowadays, right? So trauma comes in different forms, and sometimes it's totally unexpected. So yeah, I really talk about trauma a lot. I'm a child of childhood trauma. I studied childhood trauma. I went to therapy over it. So I spent a lot of time really trying to understand myself and understanding the triggers that we have that cause us to respond the way we respond. So yeah, I incorporate that all the time. It's always an ongoing conversation that we have, that when we're having these different topics, we also bring in the fact that these issues that we're seeing in our relationship, the way we respond is part of trauma, and we're trying to deal with it. And I really work hard on helping them to understand we all have these triggers, and sometimes we respond in a way in which we surprise ourselves with the way we respond because we were triggered. So trauma is very prevalent, and especially in the Black community. And we're finally getting help for some of the trauma that we're dealing with. So trauma is very prevalent in the majority of the conversations that I'm having. And, and people are actually being able to identify their trauma and understand why they have these triggers that they didn't know they had, or why they were having it, because I really break it down with them. So yeah, that's really important to talk about trauma.
Okay, I got a quick question, Deborah.
Mhm.
Do you give advice like I'm actually divorced. I was married for over 17 years,
Mhm.
and one of the questions that women have asked me even during my marriage was that how do you keep it spicy? What do you do to get that spice back? Or there's times you have the children, you have a job, you're taking care of him, you're tired, your intimate levels is like down, and like I don't feel like it. But then he's like, well, you're my wife, you're the only woman, there's nobody else I'm going to, so I'm coming to you. And then
Mhm.
there's friction. What advice do you give women that are going through things like that?
You have to find the time. You have to find the time. But you know what? What's interesting is, for some reason, and especially women today, for some reason, we don't feel like our children need to be responsible for anything. So if we give our children more responsibility to take care of themselves, I'm not talking about neglect your children. Please don't. I don't want anybody to think that. But when we give children chores according to their age, then we're not as exhausted at the end of the day. And if we set a bedtime for our children, like my children went to bed at 8 o'clock. And then
Mm-hmm.
after my children went to bed, it was my husband's time. It was our time to spend together. And oh, by the way, sometimes we also think that we have to give a lot of time. If we just focus on 15 minutes at a time with our spouses, sometimes, because sometimes that's all we have, depending on what's going on in our life. If we could just spend 15 minutes and give our undivided attention to each other, that can make all the difference in the world as well. But I have an intimacy guide that really goes into detail about things that you can do to help with your relationship. And I tell people all the time, reminisce about when you first got together, when you were dating, and when you were first married, because we were happy, we were excited, we were doing different things, right? What about that love song that you like? Put it on and start dancing with each other, right? What
Mm-hmm.
about a date night? And I mean, when I say date night, I mean go out or have an intimate dinner at home, and it's just the two of you, and you're actually listening. No cell phone, no laptop, no computer, no nothing. Just the two of you together. There's so many different things that we can do as couples to spice up our relationship. How about that note on the pillow before you go to bed, right? Those are something that I
You
do.
getting good with it. Those are some good
Mm-hmm.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
I
good.
have a lot.
Yeah, that was good. How about for the men? What are some things that I guess you kind of suggest to them? Because it's easier for the women, like you tell them, like, hey, do this and that, and women are a lot of times receptive, but sometimes the men are like, oh, that's corny, or I'm not doing that, or how sometimes men can be like macho and they don't want to show their emotional side or whatever. Is there
Right.
something that you do in particular for men who are kind of like a little bit combative and not necessarily like, um, kind of hard to get them to go along with things?
Well, with me and my husband, one of the things that we do, we tease each other. Like I will tease my husband, right? I'll pet him on the butt, and I'll tell him how sexy he is. That is such a huge turn on, right?
Aw.
And they love that. What you do is you put it on them,
Mm.
you let them know how wonderful they are. And then they want to get involved, and they want to do some things for you and with you. because you're recognizing them, because you paying them some attention, because you telling them how wonderful they are. All these little things make a difference. And that is what attracts men. Because two things men love, they want to be respected and they want to be appreciated. So when you give them that, then that's half the battle right there, because they're gonna want to come home to you. They're gonna want to spend time with you because you're giving them something. You're making them feel good. And so when you make men feel good, that's when they say, okay, my wife does this, or my significant other does that. I'm gonna do something for her. You know, everybody talks about Valentine's Day, but guess what? Valentine's Day in my household is every day.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Every day. My husband and I have a good time every day. So
That's right.
this is what you have to do. You have to give them the attention that they need, and it helps them to want to do things with you and for you. And that's just half the battle right there. And each man is different. Each man will, whether they think it's corny or not, if you're paying them some attention, if you're telling them that they're sexy and they're cute, and you petting them on their butt or rubbing they shoulders or giving them a massage, believe me, they're gonna want to do something for you because they appreciate everything that you're doing.
That's right.
Awesome. So how can you give some advice to, because there are some men that are kind of dealing with women who are not affectionate and they're not open to any type of therapy or anything like that. Can you give some advice for those type of women?
Well, you have to find out the root cause. Why? Ask the question. And before you marry someone, you really should know. Before you get into a serious relationship with someone, you should already know if they're affectionate or not. But get to the root. Find out why they're not affectionate. Maybe it's the way they grew up. Maybe they didn't get the affection that they needed when they were growing up. So I always tell people, find out the root first. Have the conversations. Have the deep conversations that you need to have to really, let them know what you want, what you like, what you desire, and then find out if they have the same interests. And if they don't, maybe they're not the one for you. But have that deep conversation.
Yeah.
Do you also think that everybody should keep their own, when I say identity, like still do what you need to do with your girlfriends or your buddies, your pals, keep a hobby, but have interest in yourself without always trying to include your significant other? I see you nodding.
Definitely. You have to have your own identity. You have to have your own space. You have to be able to do things without your spouse that fulfills you, and whatever that might be for you. I love reading. I take time out to read, right? If there's a certain show on TV that my husband doesn't like, then I'm like, babe, I'm going to watch my show. That's my time. So we all need to find time that we can spend with ourselves, because we all need to find time to regroup, right? You deal with work all day, or you deal with the kids, or you deal with the husband, you deal with, oh, by the way, family members outside of your household that you got to deal with, right? So you have to find time specifically for you. And if you do have your girlfriends with you, or you have girlfriends that you hang with, definitely go spend time with your girlfriends, because that is self-healing. That is self-care. And we all need self-care.
It's funny that you kind of ended on that note, because I was just going to say, like, how important is self-care in a relationship, not just for the woman, but for the man as well.
It's very important. Those times when they're watching the football game, that's their personal time. That's their self-care, because there's something that they want to do. Give them that time. Allow them to be able to spend time with themselves or with their buddies, because when they're happy and you come together, guess what? That brings on a peaceful household, honey, because both of y'all have had the opportunity to go and do something that you wanted to do. So by the time you come back together again, you're good.
Yeah. So y'all hear that, ladies? Let these Phillies, Eagles, men watch,
right.
watch the Super Bowl and give them their space.
Or
and
even
their
play their
time.
games.
Yeah.
Happy
Yeah.
spouse,
The
happy
games.
house.
Yes,
That's
That's right.
absolutely,
That's
Yes,
right.
it's
absolutely.
true.
not just about the
Sit
wife.
there with them, enjoy it with them. You
Yeah,
know.
Yes.
you know what? I want to ask. That was a interesting saying, right? So classic Lady Sparkle said, "Happy spouse, happy house,"
Oh,
right?
that was
was
Lady
Stacey.
S. Dot.
Lady S. Dot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talk about the classic saying, what is it? Happy wife,
Happy
happy
life.
life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How important is it for women to allow men to also be happy
Right.
without them feeling like it's only about them, right? And what do you say to women to sometimes allow, their significant other, their mate, to have kind of a safe space to, vent or just to be them without the constant bombarding of you supposed to just consider me, right? So how do you approach women in marriages that tend to have that perception that their happiness is king, no
Right.
pun intended, so to speak.
Well, the question becomes, why are you the only one supposed to be happy? You know, it
Yeah.
takes two people, and I talk about this all the time. It's if it's two adults in the room, both of those adults have needs. Both of those adults want to be able to do things that they want to do. First of all, and I don't understand why women have this problem, but when you married or when you got with someone, they were grown already.
That's
Yep.
right.
They had things that they were already doing before they even met you.
Come
And
on
oh, by
here.
the way, they had friends before they met you.
Right.
So you cannot expect somebody to give up friends that they already had when they met you.
Preach.
And that's one of the biggest things that women expect their men to do.
Mm.
You're
It's
getting a
not
lot of
fair.
hearts, Deborah. On Facebook, they're putting up a lot of hearts.
Men expect
Yay.
women to do the same, though.
Yes, and one of our viewers, Russ Klein, my buddy, he's saying that men have the highest rate of suicide. A lot of times, it's the pressure that you get from marriages. You know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and especially for our black men, my hat goes off to them because a lot of times they deal with like, they go to work and they may have like the boss that's on their back, and then they may get pulled over because of racial profile, and then they come home to a woman that's like badgering them and on their back instead of them, being lifted up for the kings that they are,
Right.
and a lot of times we don't give them their flowers. We don't, give them the respect that they need that makes them feel like a man. And it's a lot of, unfortunately, women out here that they don't feel like they need to make their man feel like a man. Like, like C said, it's all about them.
Yeah, and it's but that's the sad part too, because it's not all about you. There's two people in the relationship, and both of you should be happy. So you need to look at what they need from you to be happy. Because if you want to stay happily married, not just married, but happily married, then you always have to consider the other person. You always have to put yourself in their shoes and allow them to be who they are and allow them to have space and allow them to want and need your love and for you to be willing to give it. So we all need to think about that. We can't be selfish. We have got to stop being selfish and allow our men to be men and allow them to have the space that they need, just like we want space. But like I can't say it enough. There's two adults in the room, so treat each other like adults, not children. I have a book that I wrote, and one of the things in the book is called the three ego states, right? And there are three ego states that you have when you're having a conversation. And the first state is the child state. Are you acting like a child? Are you behaving like your way is the right way, the best way? Are you acting like the parent? Are you treating your spouse like you're the parent and they're the child, right? Or are you the adult in the room who is willing and ready to listen to whatever is going on in the relationship and be willing to work it out? So there's those three ego states that we have to consider when we are having a conversation. And I tell everyone, always try to be the adult, no matter how anyone else is behaving. You can be the adult in the room, and you can honor your spouse.
Yeah. And Deborah, you hit on something about the ego. And I think a lot of women now, we have a lot of leadership roles and then the women empowerment. So we go out into this world where sometimes we do have to show our masculinity in certain aspects and male dominated roles. But when you come home, take that cap off, take that, that cape and that, that masculinity, ladies, and, be submissive. And I'm not talking submissive to, oh, you have to bring your man his plate or your significant other, but to the point where have that mutual understanding. Like you said, who's the child, who's the parent, we're both adults. Let's have a logical conversation.
Exactly. I'm going to tell y'all, I have so much fun with my husband. I am always, teasing him, playing with him, making sure that he's okay. There's so much trauma out there in the streets, right? Yeah. Whether it's your job or whether, just like you were saying earlier about the fact that, driving black or whatever. But when you actually take the time to nurture your spouse, love on your spouse, I love on my husband all the time, y'all. I make sure that he knows he's loved and wanted and needed. And I have a very happy husband because of that. And that's real though. That is real. If you want a great relationship, then you have to work at that relationship. You have to put a lot of energy and effort into your man, right? And into your woman, because you want a happy marriage. And that's the key to everything. A happy marriage, not just a status quo marriage, not just to say you're married, but you want a happy marriage. So do what it takes to have that happy marriage. And I'm always here and available to help you.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about that book then, because you mentioned it. I want you to, tell everyone, the title of the book and some of the help that you can give to different couples. There you go.
Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes. Mastering communication in your relationships and marriage.
Yeah,
that's right.
Communication is big, y'all.
Yeah. Yes, it is very big. And I go, and it is 5 steps. And I have questions, I have diagrams, I have diagrams, worksheets. It's a small book, but it's a powerful book because it really breaks down communication. And communication is definitely the key. But let me just say this before I say communication is the key. The first thing that you have to do is to know who you are, even before you get to the communication. You have to know who you are, because how do you know what you want, what you need, or what you desire if you don't even know yourself, right? And once you understand that piece, then you could talk about communication. But I'm telling you, between knowing yourself and communication, those are the 2 keys that will help you have a great marriage. And I love my book. It's a small book, y'all, but this is a powerful book because I ask all kind of questions. I even start with how you even start a conversation, and it's creating boundaries. And a lot of people don't understand that. But when you're creating boundaries in your relationship, you're going to understand that you're not going to do name calling, right? You're not, and that's so big. Like in my relationship, my name is Debra. That's my name. That's what you call me, right? My name is Debra. I don't have any other names. Okay, I'm baby, honey, sweetie. Those are my names, okay? But you don't call me anything else. So there's no name calling. There's no verbal, no physical abuse, right? And make sure that when you're having the conversation, it's the right time. You don't decide to have a conversation and your man is watching a football game, right? Or your woman is watching one of the Housewives franchises, right? It's the time factor of when you actually have that conversation. So it starts with creating the boundaries first, and then you go to the next level. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to communication, active listening. Yeah. Are you listening to respond, or are you listening to understand? And active listening has a lot involved with that.
Yeah, I'm interested when you talk about that, because I think oftentimes, why? So there's a new movement, so to speak, that's called the Red Pill movement that you're seeing on, the YouTubes, and there's a lot of men now starting to speak out about how they're starting to feel marginalized in the relationships as it relates to even domestic abuse, right? How you have to take the verbal lashing and the physical lashing because you're a man, you can take it, right? You have to take, being called certain names and being to a degree dehumanized because you're a man, you can take it. The only one that seems or appears to have the feelings that you have to nurture and you have to respect when you talk about boundaries or giving the boundaries are the women within the relationship, right? So what is your take on, when you speak on communication and you talk to couples that you might essentially see something like that happening, how do you address that and allow them to either heal or cope?
Well, it starts off just like someone was bringing up before about the fact that, yes, women have become very powerful. Women have, gotten these wonderful roles. I'm CEO, right? Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But, when we're home, we have to respect and honor our spouse. That's the bottom line. We have to respect and honor our spouses. So we can be whatever we need to be when we're outside the household. But when we're inside the household, only thing your man wants is peace. He wants to be able to come home to peace. Yes. He wants to be able to come home and say, I know my baby got my back. I'm out here in this crazy world. This world is beating me up. But when I get home, I know my woman has me. And that's what we as women need to think about. We need to think about how are we treating our men to make them want to even come home. And then once they home, stay home, right? So it's all about how we're nurturing each other. But you're right, men are going through it because for some reason, women feel like they have to be strong, they have to be masculine, it has to be my way or no way. That is not true. And I guarantee you, let me tell you, after 40 years of experience of being married, when you are treating that man the way he wants to be treated, believe me, you can have the world. But it's just a matter of you understanding that you have to treat your man well. You cannot mistreat him and expect him to want to be there with you. And not, we always, and I've never been this way, but there's a lot of women who worried about their man going somewhere else. Well, if they feel comfortable in their own home, if they feel nurtured and loved in their home, you don't have to worry about them going anywhere. There is no need. No need.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You touched on some dynamic points. There's this couple on social media by the name of Blueface and Krishan, and one of the things that has been happening as it relates to a relationship that probably is the poster child for being toxic, right? However, one of the issues that happen in a relationship is domestic abuse by way of her, literally using him as a punching bag. However, there's no real outcry or petitioning or movement to say or to intervene in a situation where they literally see that this young lady is beating on him. And the reason I bring that up, because a gentleman actually brought this up. He said, not to mention social media is glorifying abuse amongst men. I can't stand watching Krishan, I think his name is Krishan. Yeah, Krishan Rock and Blueface. And that's pretty much what that is, right? It's, you have this young woman, they have been in a relationship for a while. Both of them literally have issues though. But this young lady literally just used him as a punching bag. But what I'm seeing when it comes to society and just social media, it has been this upliftment of women power. Women are able to be expressive and express themselves, but none of them are, really saying like, yo, this is actually wrong. Somebody need to intervene in this situation. What's going on here? Both of them definitely have issues though, because I don't want to exempt him, right? But in terms of the physical abuse is what shocks me when I don't see, especially when you have advocates out there and you have feminist rights movements that's totally against a physical abuse and wanting to be equal, and which it needs to be. That's what creates community. But when it appears to be one-sided or lopsided, that's, I believe, where it lies the problem. You could say Rihanna and Chris Brown. Yeah, absolutely.
But they're doing her and not him, is what you're saying.
Right. And so, what is your take on, how we should begin to move and address these serious issues that it seems that is being desensitized, so to speak?
Well, more people need to speak out about it. Instead of letting it happen and going, oh, good, I'm glad that the woman is beating up the guy. No, what did I say before about creating boundaries? Mm-hmm. No one should be touching anyone.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're in that type of situation, first of all, why are you allowing yourself to be in that situation? Mm-hmm. Because he's allowing himself to be in an environment that, she's able to do that to him. And why aren't they in counseling? They need to be in counseling. They need to be seeing someone. And why are you posting it? Why are you making people see your mess? It's a mess.
Oh, goodness.
So why are you posting your mess? Because it's not helping your relationship. It's actually causing it to become even worse if you're saying that people aren't even saying that is wrong. So, of course, if people aren't telling her that it's wrong, she's going to keep doing it. And he's allowing her to do it.
That's right.
So, it goes both ways. But why is he still there?
There you go. Fantastic. Yeah. And so there you have it, man. I mean, I think this was a dynamic conversation and something that needs to happen as it relates to being communicative between the sexes, right? And, I'm not sure where we're headed as a community, as a society, if it continues to be one-sided. There's this conversation based around, especially black men protecting the sisters and protecting the black women, and but you have a lot of black men feeling like, well, they're not even feeling protected when it comes or by way of the black woman, right? And so these are conversations that I'm hearing. I think, myself, Sizzle, Lady S. Classy Lady Sparkle. I mean, our job is to pay attention to social media and things that's happening in media, but understanding also first something called media literacy, right? And we understand that persuades the audience, right? And you become desensitized seeing certain things and seeing certain narratives and visuals. And I think that, we need more people. And this is where I give a cry out to the women. We need more women, standing up and saying, yo, this is wrong.
Right.
This is wrong. And so I just wanted to thank you for coming to the show. And before I let you go, I definitely want you to talk about your book again, some of the things you got coming up, where people can find you, learn more about you and all that good old stuff.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate being able to be on here. So thank you so much. And as you can see, next to my name, I am on Instagram as Nurture Your Love. And all of my information is in my bio. You can buy my book there. I'm also, I'm doing so many things, you guys, but the one thing that I'm promoting right now is the Self-Love Makeover Workshop. It's all about loving yourself. That's one of the biggest issues that we have in our community is self-love. And so me and my partner, Maria, her name is Maria Pettifer Atkins, and the two of us are putting together a self-love workshop. And if you go to my bio in my landing page, it will take you to a wait list where you can sign up to be on the wait list to join us. And I'm just so excited about it because there are 6 aspects to it, and it is self-growth, self-worth, self-awareness, self-esteem, self-respect, and self-care. So those 6 aspects of the self-love makeover workshop really will help you dig deep into you and understanding you and how to love on you. And once you do something like that, you don't have to be in an environment, a negative environment, because you're going to love yourself enough to not even tolerate that type of environment. I'm also involved in doing a masterclass called The Unheard Wife, How to Be Heard in Your Marriage. And that's a masterclass that I have as well. And I also have a 12-week The Confident Wife Method. And there's 3 pillars to that. And the first pillar is understanding the real you. The second pillar is understanding your spouse. And the third pillar is communication. And I also
she froze
as well.
Oh, there you go. You have froze for a minute, but we got everything. It's all good. So I just want to say thank you for coming to the show. And one thing that we say is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show. So you're more than welcome to come back. Kudos to your publicist who has been making sure that your information and what you do is amplified. So we appreciate that. And make sure you continue to watch and continue to keep nurturing that love. Man.
Right. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys. Thank you for
Deborah.
having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. This is We Talk Weekly After the Talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weekly with your boy Charles Gregory and a beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and a beautiful
Classy Lady Sparkle.
and a beautiful
Lady S. Dot.
and a beautiful.
Debra B. Hamilton.
There you go. Yeah, no doubt. All right, so don't go nowhere, y'all. We'll be right back after this. Hello.
So